What's up, agency owners? Jason Swenk here with another episode of the Smart Agency Masterclass, a podcast for helping the digital agency owner really scale their agency faster so they can create an asset rather than an agency burden. So we want you to produce wealth and freedom and predictability. So let's go ahead and jump into the show. What's up? How are you doing?
Hey, Jason. Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah. Matt, tell us who you are and what does your agency do?
Sure. I'm Matt McAllister. I'm the managing director at Candor Content. We are a content marketing agency. We help technology companies grow by driving organic traffic, generating inbound leads, and helping nurture those leads along.
Awesome. I love it. Got the elevator pitch down right away.
I've said it a time or two before. Yeah.
Tell us, how did you start the agency?
I actually started it 12 years ago and originally called it a PR agency. Reason being, especially back then, a lot of companies had budgets set aside for public relations. Content marketing had not yet really become a big thing, but I always took a very content centric approach to PR. So it was like, hey, why don't you let us publish some bylined articles, or why don't you let us, publish some research reports, or, in some cases, even take over your blog. And then starting around, I don't know, 2015, 2016, HubSpot started getting really big. A lot of companies realized the power of inbound marketing and needed content to fuel those inbound engines. And so we just started leaning more and more heavily into what we became really good at, which was the content part of marketing and communications. And it's, kind of taken off since then.
Very cool. What's been a big struggle? Like, walk me back a couple years before you kind of started narrowing down your services, right, in order to grow and scale. Walk me through kind of a typical week, typical stress. What were you worried about?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where, we tried to be all things to all people, right? And we tried to give our clients this real full service end-to-end offering where we could, pretty much do everything that they needed us to do. And that was causing a lot of stress. So we were still doing a lot of PR. We were doing some like messaging and positioning and branding work. We were doing some design work. And, we were still a small team at this point. So we had to rely on freelancers at times. We had to scramble and adjust like our own internal processes and procedures and all of that. Um, and that led us to realize like, hey, let's maybe strip down our service offering a little bit. Let's just focus on what we're really good at and what we enjoy doing the most. And that was the content piece of it. So, from there,
How
it
long
sort of
did that
snowballed.
take? Because that's we make it sound easy, right? But
Mhm.
kind of saying no and kind of drilling down it takes a lot more kind of manifesting and thinking about it and actually doing it. So walk me kind of through that process. How long did it take? Or when, like, I know when you realized you had to make a change, but how long did it take? And then what really put you over the edge going, yeah, man, we're stripping this down?
Yeah, it was maybe a year altogether from when we first started thinking about it, and had heard from some other agency owners like that it could be a good move for us. And then till the time that we're actually doing it, and we had cut out all of the unnecessary service offerings that had out there. About a year, because it was several months of just thinking about it and worrying about the consequences of it, and then a few more months of actually like starting to implement it with certain clients. We had to rebuild all of our marketing collaterals, our website, our pitch decks, all of that stuff. And then, yeah, finally, about a year later, we drew a pretty hard line in the sand and had to break the news to some of our clients that like, hey, we don't do that anymore. We're happy to introduce you to people who can, but here's what we're going to do going forward. So it was a lot of hard decisions along the way, but I'm happy that we made them.
Now, once you guys made the decision, how long did you start to, how long did it start to see results?
Right away, I would say. There was a little bit of a step back in terms of like we gave up revenue. We the work we were turning down and the work that we had to cut off from some clients. We took a little bit of a step back revenue wise, but then I think from even existing clients who saw like, okay, here's what they do. This is now a full service content, not full service, but they're all in on content marketing. Um, they knew already that we were pretty good at it, and that now we had more ability to scale with it. We got more budgets pretty much right away. And then as I was talking to new prospects and going after new business and delivering the pitch, and they realized that, hey, they must be pretty good at it because this is the only thing they're doing. We started winning more of those proposals. So yeah, the results were pretty instantaneous.
You know, I've seen so many agencies go through this where they're in the very beginning, they kind of pull the parachute a little early when they go, no,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting rid of these. We're going to focus on this. And then they pull the ripcord a little bit early because they see themselves going back a little bit. Um, how
Yeah.
much did you guys go back? I just because I know there's so many agency owners right now listening, right? And they're going through the same thing, going, man, I really should get more focused.
Yeah.
And maybe they started the point, but they started losing some clients and they're not getting momentum. I mean, I'm thinking of one agency in particular. You know who you are, and they're freaking out and they're going, man, I don't have a pipeline right here. Like, how did you mentally get over that part?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, stepped back probably close to 10, maybe 15% in our overall revenue, which,
Okay.
we were a small agency at the time. We're still a small agency. That was a significant portion of revenue right there. It was scary. There were times where certain like PR work would come along and I would be real tempted to take it. And fortunately, I had a real strong partner by my side who was telling me like, Matt, remember what we decided, we need to go all in on this or not do it at all. And I would say, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. It'll work out. And it certainly did. But yeah, some really
I,
tough choices.
I'm glad you had a partner. You know, I always feel that when you're making a big shift like this, you need people to bounce ideas off of and to hold
Yes,
you accountable, right?
definitely.
Of going, no, no, you committed to this. I see too many
Hmm.
agencies. You know, we've changed a lot over the years of helping agency owners focus in a couple key areas, whether it be like attracting the right talent and having the right vision of where we're going, or converting and having the right sales process, or even in the scale stage. Like I always, when we're working with agencies in the mastery, it's really like you're going to focus on one of these three disciplines, like each quarter,
Hmm.
like in order to do that.
Hmm.
And I feel like because you need that time in order to commit and then get someone over the line. What if you had to go back to yourself when you were starting this, what would you tell yourself?
When I was starting this transition or starting the
Starting the
agency.
well, let's go back to starting the agency. What would have changed?
I probably would have brought on help sooner. The first year or two in particular, I tried to do everything myself. And I called it an agency, but it was me and a
Freelancing.
couple of freelancers, and that was it. And so I would have, I think, had more trust and given more work to other people, and maybe even made full time hires a lot sooner. So that's number one. I think as far as this transition from a PR agency to a content marketing agency, I would have had a little more faith that it was going to work out, because it would have saved me some sleepless nights. Number one, um, and then I think I would have maybe narrowed our service offering even more, because it was a slightly gradual transition where we cut out the PR work for the most part. We cut out the messaging and positioning work. Um, but there was still we were doing email marketing, for instance. We were doing certain types of content that nowadays we know what we're good at. We know what we can replicate and scale, and that's SEO, it's lead generation content, and what I call brand journalism. And those three buckets are really what has allowed us to take off.
I always tell agencies and people doing a business, if you really want to scale up, you almost have to kind of scale down like you did. And in order to
Hmm.
figure that out, and you just kind of answered the question a little bit of going, what would you do if you were only paid after you performed and your result? And we all need
Hmm.
to think about that. And then even on the positioning part, think about how can you be the best at what you do and really eliminate everyone else. If you answer those two
Yeah.
questions over the
Yeah.
long haul, you'll win. Short term, you got to stay committed. It's kind of like
Yeah.
when I started this podcast. No one listened to it for years. I've been doing this for 8 years now, or nine. I can't even remember.
Wow.
So you got to stay committed. So if you remember those three things, you guys will dominate and really because and
Yeah.
you'll surpass your competition. Your competition will give up. I promise.
Yeah, that's great advice. And, we were fortunate, and again, this was my partner's decision, and thank God I listened to him. But he convinced me to become a HubSpot agency partner. So we did that probably 5 or 6 years ago as we were making this transition. And so now, not all of our clients are on HubSpot, but a good number of them are, and we could use their system to really dive into the analytics and see what was working. So we could see where we were having the biggest impact on our clients' businesses. And so that's the areas that we decided to really double down on.
Yeah. And that goes back. I'm glad you dived into the analytics and figured out the results you're delivering for your clients. I can't tell you how many times I talk to an agency. I go, "What's the results you deliver to your clients?" "Oh, really good service." No, 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 no. That's not results, and that they
Right.
don't know. And I'm like, "Well, that's your problem." It's like if you don't know, your clients don't know, and that's
Hmm.
why like you think you're doing a really good job. So really, I applaud you guys for kind of committing to it, narrowing it down, focusing on the things you guys do really well. That's what I hope all of you do listening. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
I guess just one final word of advice that I might offer that really worked out well for us is and it sounds sort of trite to even say it, but to follow your passions, right? So we as a team, a lot of us are writers, former journalists. We're really passionate about the craft of writing and the process of writing. And I myself, I have my master's degree in creative writing, which when I got that, I thought was going to be completely useless. But it turns out that, yeah, if you focus on what you love to do, then everything else will kind of follow from that. And so that's, I think, mostly how we settled into this niche. But, it's true what they say, right? Follow your passions and everything else will kind of fall into place.
I did lie. Another question came up for you, and it's
Sure.
probably going to take the show on a whole different trajectory. So you're in content marketing. You do a lot of content. Obviously, ChatGPT, a lot of AI tools are out there right now. How are you feeling that's affecting your of what you do and your industry?
I'm actually pretty excited about it. I think there's a lot of writers and content marketers who are a little nervous, and understandably so. I mean, there is a lot of talk how this could possibly replace writers. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's just going to make writers better at their job, right? It's going to give them tools to get, better ideas for what to write about. It's going to make them better writers during the process. It's going to make them better editors. So I've been following it very closely, and I'm actually really excited about it.
I am too. Part of it does scare me. I went skiing with a buddy of mine. Where I think I've had him on the show, Jeff Walker, and I was asking him. I was like, "What do you think about the AI tools?" And we were talking back and forth. I was like, "Well, it's going to replace the low level people," and we're like, "Well, I mean, would it? I mean, it could help the low level people get to the higher level people because
Yeah.
anything like when I'm developing an idea, a lot of times I need a starting point. Like we have those
Right.
writer blocks or the creative blocks, and we're like, hey, if we have this, give me an idea about a Mr. Beast video and making fun of something in the digital agency realm. Like I'm not going to follow that to the T, but I may have some
Right.
really good ideas in there that I can morph and then I can
Hmm.
leverage. And how can we get more efficient? That's kind of like you guys got more efficient when you guys started narrowing down. Now you can really supercharge it, getting even more efficient using tools like this. So if you guys have not started checking out some of these tools, because look, there's AI tools that create websites, that create graphics, like it's only going to keep getting better. So what are the tools that are going to be the big things in the next coming months and years? You should be on that because your clients are going to be asking you the same questions. If you go, I don't know, what's that? They're not going to look at you as the agency advisor anymore. So
Right.
make sure you guys do that. What's the website people can go and check you guys out?
Candorcontent.com.
Easy enough. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Make sure you guys all check that out. And if you guys want to grow your agency faster and you want more resources and more tools and more support, make sure you all go to Agency Mastery 360. This is the online community for agency owners that want to change their agency burden into an asset that's more predictable, creates wealth and freedom for them. Go check out agencymastery360.com. And until next time, have a swank day.